Welcome to the Farrms Friday Food File Podcast. It's your contrarian agrarian, Sue Belcom here. We have a special treat for our next 3 Friday Food Files. No, we're not going to talk about recipes. We're actually going to run some excerpts from Fred Kirchenmann's homily that he gave at the Carl Limbeer Memorial Classroom Dedication about 2 years ago at Farrms. It's a timely topic about the re-ruralification of America and how it could affect small towns in North Dakota. You really need to take heart when you listen to what Fred has to say about the evolution of rural America. And he gives us an actual target date of when we might be able to expect that things have normalized and there will be thriving rural communities everywhere. You don't want to miss the next 3 weeks of Friday Food File podcast from Farrms. Here's Fred.
Energy costs go up as we have less of that cheap energy available. And he's arguing now that by the year 2040, we're going to have 40 to 50 million people engaged in producing our food. Now think about this for a minute. Right now, we have 192,442 farms that produce 75% of our total agricultural commodities. Just 192,442 farms. And here's Richard Heinberg saying by the year 2040, we're going to have 40 to 50 million people producing our food. What's he thinking? Well, what he's thinking is, and we're starting to see this, I'm starting to see this in my association, in my travels, and that is more and more people now, as food costs go up, as energy costs go up, are trying to figure out, well, maybe I should do some of this on my own. Maybe we should have more farmers markets. Maybe we should have more community-supported agriculture, exactly the kind of thing that Carl already envisioned a couple of decades ago. And we now have, there was an article in the New York Times just this last week called Rooting the Unrooted. And it's about women from countries like Somalia who are coming to the United States to live in resource-poor areas, some of them rural communities, where they are bringing their skills as farmers to our community to raise fresh fruits and vegetables, etc., for people in their community, and how this is revitalizing the community. So Richard Heinberg is saying that what we're going to see in the future now is what he calls the re-ruralification of America. Now, I have to tell you that makes me pretty excited because, all of the values that many of us have been a part of and that Carl shared with us and articulated for us could now actually become the reality for our grandchildren and for our children. And when you think about it, now you don't have to, have an office in a big city in order to do what you want to do. Given the new technology that we have, like my daughter, who runs her company from inside her home right here in Windsor, North Dakota. That's becoming the standard more and more. We don't need to be in these large urban communities. And Richard Heinberg is saying, in fact, that the first communities that are going to collapse now as we move in our future are suburban communities, because you're not going to be able to live in this suburban enclave and then travel 40, 50 miles to work every day when as energy costs go up. So you're going to see more and more people wanting to take their families, move to places like North Dakota, where they can raise some of their own food. Maybe where we're going to begin to see people living together in communities, sharing the kinds of resources, putting the community's needs first because it's going to be the best way to meet their own needs. I think that's a real possibility now. Now maybe that sounds a little weird to some of you if you haven't thought about this before, but think about it. And I think it's part of that great gift that Carl gave us. And I want to share with you, because I think this quote from Carl that he made is also very similar to one that Wendell Berry has in one of his writings. And Wendell kind of spells it out a little bit more. And here's what Wendell Berry wrote. He said, "I believe that the community, in the fullest sense, a place and all its creatures, is the smallest unit of health." Think about this now. The community, in the fullest sense, a place with all its creatures, not just us humans, but all the creatures in that community, is the smallest unit of health. And that to speak of the health of an isolated individual is a contradiction in terms. And that's exactly the sense that Carl was expressing in his quote. An isolated individual, to speak of health, and health, of course, meaning not just our physical health, but our mental health, our spiritual health. To speak of health as an isolated individual is a contradiction in terms. It's the community that makes it all work and that gives value and meaning to our lives. And I think as we see the re-ruralification of America, you're going to see the real quality of life that people actually want. Because one of the other things that we know now is our material wealth has increased so rapidly since 1970 with this economies of scale concept. All of the indicators of the well-being, our well-being, have actually gone down. Our rates of depression are higher, our rates of suicide are higher as a society. It's that well-being which we've missed because we've been on this trajectory of we gotta get more material wealth in order to have quality of life, and we don't. The quality of life has escaped us. So we have an opportunity now, and I think rural communities and organizations like Farrms can take the leadership in helping us to understand what a real quality of life is and how we can re-embed that in our community here as the re-ruralification of America takes place. And we're going to see Medina be a thriving community by 2040 and certainly by 2050. And a few of us will still be around.
Thank you for joining us today for the Friday Food File podcast and Fred Kirchenmann's talk. Find future podcasts on our new website at farmsnews.com or on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/farmsnews and on our iTunes channel. It's easy to join us every week for Farms News and Views. If you have an issue, a comment, or would you like to be a guest on our next episode, call 701-527-5169 or 701-486-3569 or email info@farms.org. Don't forget to stop by often at farmsnews.com. We'll see you next week for another Friday Food File podcast. Bye now.